Hi everyone, I'm MJ. I helped start the Greenlight Jam a couple of years ago. Not helping run it this year, just mentoring. But in past years, if you've jammed with Greenlight more than once, you might remember me from the past ones. But yeah, I also was a participant in Climate Jam back when they were two separate jams. Now they're merged together. So it's exciting to see them merge together, and I'm really excited to see what everyone has been working on. I was previously a full-time game developer, and then I started teaching game development at the University of Texas. Now I'm living out in California. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome.
MJ, what was the name of the game you made for the Climate Jam?
I made the game Litterbug. We've actually continued developing it for 2 years afterwards and officially released it 2 years ago. It was 2019 was the year that we jammed.
Cool.
And then, yeah, went into 2 years of full development after that.
Oh, wow. I got to check out the new version. I remember that was just a terrific game. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so much fun to work on.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
where can we find it? Is it on Itch or Steam or anything?
I'll pull up the link while Dargan introduces himself.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, like when I was jamming. Yeah, so this was quite a few years ago, and it was 48 hours back then. But just in general, I think that making games about climate resilience and the importance of like collective action and things that we all need to do to make the planet a better and safer place is just a really motivating topic to consider. And so, for me at least, I just was like overflowing with ideas of like had to like really scale it down to like what's something I can actually make about this. And so yeah, I made a game that was about the importance of knowing what can go in the recycle bin and what can go in the compost bin, because you might think, oh, this is an easy thing, but it's really not. It's actually kind of complicated, and it kind of depends on where you live.
I need that in my life. I'm always asking myself that question. I'm like, I want to do the right thing, but feel like this is a game I'm going to fail at. So I would love to.
Yeah, I'll drop the link in the chat somehow or other. I don't know how to do a chat on the Twitch, so I might just drop it in the Discord and someone else can post it in the Twitch.
Okay. Yeah. Either way. Okay. Cool. So, and I want to pronounce your name, Dargan. Is that how you pronounce it? Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Thanks.
great
So I'm super excited to be here with this long format Climate Jam. Got my kids here too. That's Eleanor.
Hello.
Yeah, we've been having some family time here, and I actually just showed both of my daughters Star Wars for the first time today.
Oh, nice.
So
okay,
anyway,
which one?
It's been a exciting day.
Which one?
Yeah,
which movie?
Episode 4. So
Episode 4. Okay.
Yep.
Good start.
Yeah. I figured we go like chronologically, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah. So my story with this is I'm a climate scientist, but have just always like kind of known that we need more people talking about climate change. We need people talking about climate justice. We need people, who are not just scientists talking about climate. Believe me, as a scientist, I can tell you this. So we have a little group called Earth Games at University of Washington, where we made our own stuff. But really, these jams have just been such a cool way to get so many talented people working on this. There's just so many great ideas out there. So we've been doing jams. This jam, I guess, maybe 6 years, 7 years now. First, it was just in Seattle, and then we went online, and it's just expanded more and more. I love working with Indiecade, and there's so many cool people involved in this one. So super psyched to see how everything's going now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
So they're all like kind of climate related, but we've done a bunch
Yeah.
of different topics. Like last year was more about wildlife trafficking as a problem, right? So people who seek out endangered species and stuff like that, right? I think, yeah. What are some of the other ones we did? We did sort of like a Green New Deal type one, So like, how do you get government policies working for people? Too, yeah. We really want to do traffic jam at some point. I'm excited about doing a transportation themed one, and the idea behind change the story, right, is that from a science perspective, there was like a lot of disinformation about global warming. People just making stuff up to make it seem more confusing than it actually is. It's not not all that complicated, really. We need to stop burning fossil fuels. Stop. Yeah. And like, there's lots of ways to solve it that are good for people too, in a lot of different ways. So, changing the story, sort of revealing those truths, right? Getting people to think about justice, things like that, right?
Yeah, I think it's a fun, unique way to kind of bring in what people are interested in, whether it's development or actually playing things, to kind of be and centered around important topics. I think our society can use a lot more of that. Which is why I always committed this jam and always support it. So sweet. Okay, so looks like the first game that we brought on is Purging Blade. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, sounds pretty epic. Is it just the three of you guys?
On the team, we have 11 people, but we have 3 people here today to help me present.
Awesome. Well, that is fantastic. Fantastic. Well, we're excited to know a little bit about your thought process, your game, the title. Whoever wants to take it away.
Yeah, so I'll get us started, and I sometimes have audio issues with Discord, so if there's a problem, just let me know. That's not a big
Audio levels are low. I can fix that.
Good thing. Yeah, you're good now. At least to me, you're good.
I'll keep going. Stop me if there's an issue. All right, yeah. My name's Oscar Mailman. I am the project manager and the narrative lead for Purging Blade. And I'll real quick let my 2 teammates introduce themselves. Orkin, you can go first.
I'm Orkan, and I'm the game designer, or just in general, just the only designer of the team, and I help Oscar with some production issues sometimes.
I'm Ben. I'm the composer and sound designer for the game.
Yeah, and like I said, we have 11 people total, so we have a really talented team with this as well. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about some of what we've got. So Purging Blade is a Metroidvania roguelike, kind of in the vein of Hollow Knight or Dead Cells or something like that, if you've played it. And so we tried to put our own spin on it, and we wanted to involve the theme, change the story. So the way we tried to kind of do that is our story is about a robot created by humans who, kind of similar to WALL-E in a way, is sent to clean up the pollution, but he's like fighting back against the smog that's taken over the surface world. And the way the story kind of progresses is he starts off as a freshly produced robot. He doesn't know much about the world, and he makes some mistakes. He doesn't know about the backstory of like how things got this way and the people it's affected. So your first run through the game, he's kind of a naive character, and then after you beat the game, you realize that because of his naivete, he's kind of things didn't turn out the way he wanted them to. So you go through a second run of the game that is going to have new story and some new gameplay mechanics and that kind of thing. And but the gameplay will remain mostly the same, and that's how you get the second half of the story. So yeah, I would like to show you guys some of the work we have in the Unity engine right now. So I'll share my screen. Some specific feedback that we're looking for is we have a lot of different parts right now, but we want advice on kind of how to like bring it all together with such a large team and so many different moving parts. This is an ambitious game, so we think the hard part is going to be bringing it all together. So maybe MJ, if you have some help you can give with that, that would be super helpful. So yeah, I'm going to share my screen, and I think Orkin is first going to talk about some of our design.
Mm-hmm.
Orkin, you can take it away.
Yeah. So like Oscar said, our main influences are Hollow Knight and other Metroidvanias when it comes to gameplay. But for levels, we are basically making rooms. For example, you will go through 10 rooms, and the 11th room or the 10th room is going to be the boss. And you can basically finish these rooms by going through the exit. But we want our players to defeat every single smog monster or corrupted beings that traverse these places. And after killing them, you can proceed. The difference between the run 1 and run 2, you can just go. Don't need to even kill the monsters and directly finish the levels by going to the end. But when our main character learns about these values and what happened in the past, he will clean all of these monsters and corrupted beings with the Purging Blade. Purging Blade is basically similar to like a vacuum cleaner. It's there to clean these monsters. By the way, we're seeing some of the rooms. They're not that big. Their main thing is, going through fast. And our main thing is fighting the monsters. And um, we don't want to bore with like hard parkour and everything because that would be frustrating. And we are kind of leaning on the story part a lot too. Oscar, can you
Yeah.
just for example show them like one by one? These
Oh,
are just
yeah,
some of
sure.
them. There's still a lot more in my work, but we didn't really implement them right now. So one of our really talented artists is making covers for these, where we're gonna put on these white boxes. By the way, this is all white box. This is not the end product or anything. They will look really good and will fit our aesthetic. We're going for a 2.5D aesthetic, where we're gonna have a lot of 2D assets and 3D assets. It's gonna be a mixture of them. That we want to give an environmental. We want to give like an environment that's like long forgotten, forest with a lot of unclean parts, similar to, for example, games like Nier Automata. Also, can you go to like the end of it? Is this the old?
I don't know which version. I might have the not completely updated version.
Yeah.
But just to like keep moving a little bit, since we're on a little bit of a time limit.
Yeah.
So these are some of the levels, and like Orkin has been saying, a lot of the art is completed. It's just not implemented. So we kind of know the style that we're going for, and a lot of it's produced. The other cool thing that we have going is we have all these individual rooms created, and then we also have a program that every time you run through the game, they're going to be randomized in their order. So if we have 30 or so rooms, you're only going to see 10 or so when you actually play through the game. So as you can see here, we got a random like order of rooms here. So that's how that's going to work. And that's going to bring like the roguelike element in. So you might get a run where you're mostly talking to NPCs, and you might get a run that's more combat focused. So it'll be like that.
Also, can I also add something real quick?
Yeah,
We're
sure.
also working on implementing, for example, end of the room things. For example, you can make choices on upgrades, upgrades on your abilities, upgrades on your, for example, damage, or getting a healing, things like that.
Right. So moving on, we also have here. I think if this is gonna open. There it is. I think. Hopefully. There we go. So here's our protagonist. His name is Bristle. He's what we're calling the B green unit. So again, he's been created by humans to kind of fight back he'll have a regular sword, and then in the second run, he'll be using the Purging blade, which is going to be like a more high-tech sword, and it's going to be connected to a solar power backpack, and that's kind of where he recycles the smog energy that he's sucking up from each of the enemies. And then I also have this is the playable part we have right now. There are no animations yet, so it's kind of just like how things are going to look. So it's pretty rough right now, but as you can see, he can move around, he can jump. The little watermelon is the hitbox, because again, there's no animations quite yet. We also have this dialogue system that we've set up. So this is how it's going to look. We have avatars for each of the characters. This one's the dog is a stand-in for now. That's going to be a cyborg dog, so it's not quite done yet. So you'll be able to click through the dialogue, get some story. You'll be able to meet NPCs and kind of get their stories. They'll be giving you some insight on the world and that kind of thing. And then you'll also be able to go into the world and do some fighting. So if you go down here, we have an enemy with some programmed attacks. He'll start running at me now, and I'll die, of course. And I'll run back in, and hopefully I'll go. There we go. And now he's dead. And yeah, so that's what we have in terms of playability right now. But again, what we have is a lot of different elements, and they haven't all kind of like coalesced yet. So we have a lot of different art assets. We have all the story written out. So it's just going to be a matter of bringing it all together now. So yeah, that's what we have to present. I will stop sharing my screen. Any questions,
awesome.
or feedback, or anything?
Before that, can I also add? We have a lot of new. Ben, was it you who made all the new music and everything? It's really good. We're so excited to show everything at some point.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess in terms of sound design and music, I'm mostly just trying to sort of mirror the like emotional journey the character goes through, but I'm also trying to especially place an emphasis on this like pivotal moment where the character realizes the way that they thought of the problem beforehand is not exactly the best way to approach things. So like emphasizing sort of the change in sound from the player's tool once they have that moment.
Right, and that just brings it back around to the idea that we're trying to get across, which is sometimes the easy way when it comes to complicated issues like this. Sometimes what appears to be the easy way of a solution isn't always going to be the best, and sometimes it requires putting in some hard work to make an effective change. And that's what we hope the player and Bristle can go throughout Purging. Thank you.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
So what kind of inspired y'all to do this? Around what's the what inspired you to kind of make the concepts for this game? Because it's so far what I've seen, even adding the little texture box at the bottom already early on is kind of unique to see. And then of course it was a standalone for the dog because you want to make the cyber one. But it was very interesting to already see that implemented so early on.
Yeah, so we like I said, we're a pretty large team. So what we did initially was we just had a pitch meeting where everybody just kind of threw out their ideas, and this ended up being a like conglomeration of multiple different team members' ideas. But are we good? Is there an issue?
No, we're good.
Okay, okay, yeah, all good. So yeah, it was a bunch of different ideas that kind of came together, and we were taking influence from other games that we found emotionally impactful. When it comes to storytelling, my ideology has always kind of been that like to get the message across, the player first has to be entertained. So we're doing that in a couple different ways through like cool enemy design, through the second moveset that the player is going to get with the Purging blade, and also interesting characters like the cyborg dog who we saw a version of. So we're hoping that those elements are going to engage players enough that they are willing to like receive the message that we're trying to get across to them and maybe make a change in their real life.
Yeah, I think what you have is really a cool concept, and a lot of your mechanics and gameplay seems like it's already close to there, like almost ready to go, ready to be implemented into the game. You mentioned one of the things you wanted feedback on was how to bring it all together. So I do have a little bit of advice for that. One thing that is super helpful when you have a really big team is having a really consistent naming structure and being sure to name everything in the scene, everything in the project folders, and making sure that what you're naming things is really easy to search. Because as you start bringing things together, you're going to want to use that search bar a lot to figure out, oh no, I lost this thing. Where did it end up? And it's true in the scene hierarchy as well. So as you're like building out, even with the white box level, if you label different parts or group them together, it can be really helpful. One other, oh, and then also prefabs is super useful if you set things up with prefabs. It helps a lot with integrating art assets because it can be really frustrating to have to replace a bunch of stuff and doing it just once and having it instantly update every version of that instance can be really helpful. One other thing that I was curious about, so you mentioned having a bunch of different rooms and you can randomly spawn the set of rooms that you're going to get. Um, I don't know how, I guess it's possible you're very attached to the idea, but I don't know if that is very necessary for the message that you're trying to give. And so if it gets to a point where you need to sort of scale back and cut so that you have something fully playable when you release it, maybe just reducing the set of possibilities that you're choosing from to simplify that, because as you get close to a deadline, uh, rather than frantically trying to get everything in there, it helps to prioritize and say, okay, maybe it's not critical that we have every variant of this that we had imagined, and we can just do like 3 variants instead of 10 variants or something like that. But I guess it depends on if you feel like that is critical to your message. When I heard randomized set of rooms, I thought, oh, that's a lot of work. So a smaller set might make that a more streamlined process. But
Yeah,
it's
for
a
sure.
cool idea. If you have time to do them all, it's a great idea. But yeah, just thinking ahead to when you start running out of time, where are you going to cut things back a little bit?
Yeah, and I think that's every game development project ever is the moment that you realize you have to start cutting stuff out of the project. So yeah, I appreciate that. That's super helpful. Our randomization, how that's going to work is actually all implemented already. I think I did a bad job of showing it because I think I might have the wrong build in my computer right now because GitHub stuff, as always. But yeah, that's already done. So we are just in the process of creating more rooms. There are other stuff that is probably going to end up having to be cut. Is again, that's just the nature of development. Um, but yeah, that was hugely helpful, and we will be implementing what you've explained to us. So thanks a lot.
Can I add to that a little bit? So our, I guess I'll say bonus was, as a team, we formed it really quick. So we started development on this game really early. So we had a lot of big ideas. For example, we at some point we thought we could like modularly generate these levels, and like everything could be random. But then this is like actually the lower scaled version of the idea. But yeah, like Oscar said, we will cut, I think probably cuts a lot of the ideas that we have. We had a really grandiose expectation, but right now just editing things out.
But I think we did a good job of preparing in advance, like when we would have to cut stuff and that kind of thing. Because I think very easily you can fall into the trap of coming up with a giant idea and not even getting close to it. But I actually think we've done a really good job so far of like cutting when necessary, but our idea wasn't too big that we're still pretty close to that vision. So I'm actually super happy with our project so far.
That's good. That's good. It's definitely that's definitely important to kind of keep in mind as the jam continues and goes further. You always want to make sure how much time you got in you guys' head, like how much work you want to be completed. So I got a couple of questions from the chat I wanted to ask you guys, so you can give us your answers. So the first question is, when you have the character transition in the player's knowledge, do you intend to change anything about Bristol aesthetically? eye color change or any other indication of internal change beyond the power-ups and new gear?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I guess the um, Bristle himself is not necessarily like the model isn't going to be changing, but what he's going to be doing is accepting a gift from another robot that is the Purging blade, which is going to look significantly different from the other sword. And it's also going to be connected to the solar power backpack, which is going to it's not going to be like subtle. So I think it's going to be pretty clear to players what the difference is. And it's what we're actually hoping for is that it's going to end up being more challenging in the second run because you have to kind of manage how much space you have in your vacuum and like how much energy you've created and that kind of thing. So again, going back to that idea of sometimes the correct way is the more challenging one. So instead of you getting stronger, in a way, gaining more abilities is making you weaker and have to work harder to get through. So that's just another thing that we are in the process of working on. But thank you for the question, whoever that was.
Nice. And Stephanie actually asked, has your team worked together before, and where are you all from?
So we have not worked together before. I was super nervous about like being one of the people who like didn't end up on a team. So I was totally obsessive like the first day we had access of like finding as many people as possible. So I was like, all right, we need artists and we need programmers and all that. So I kind of pulled everybody together. And we are mostly in America except for Orkin, and I think it's like 4 a.m. for him right now in Turkey. So yeah,
Oh, nice.
that's
It's
time zones.
yeah, it's 3:30 a.m. But you know,
Wow.
you gotta do.
We appreciate your service.
So
thanks for joining us.
we've never met before, but personally, I think we've been working together super well, and I'm hoping that we can maybe finish up whatever we can't get done in the end of the time, and work together for a little bit longer afterwards. So yeah, it's been a great experience working with a new team for everybody, I think.
That's awesome. I was going to mention, it sounds like you guys have a somewhat of a larger size team, but such an ambitious project. I would hope you guys, y'all seem kind of enthused to make sure it gets completed. So definitely rooting for you guys.
Yeah, I love this concept. I feel like so much environmental stuff is kept hidden from us, right? The environmental impact of things really is kept hidden, right? And having this turn where you realize that all of a sudden is something that could really be impactful. I was thinking in terms of other environmental problems to highlight, maybe think about maybe toxic stuff, right? Air pollution, water pollution. So much of that is completely invisible, right? But if you kind of realize when it's out there and why, right, that could also be something to highlight there, maybe. And there's so much of that around. If y'all want any scientific advice or anything, just let us know.
Yeah, that's super appreciated. Thank you for that. What we're hoping is that the NPC characters that you can kind of come across in the world, and maybe some people will miss them and some people will find them. They're gonna hopefully give like another dimension that goes beyond the main story. And we haven't exactly fleshed out exactly what that will be, so I might follow up with you and maybe get some advice on some of that stuff. So yeah, much appreciated.
Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us for a few minutes. Great concept of a game. I want to encourage you to not stop here, and all the feedback, especially MJ and Dragon, take those in and really focus on crafting it more because you have a lot of potential with it, and you showed us a lot of great stuff that you've already created. So I just want to implore you all to don't stop here, to keep striving and powering through, and I look forward to seeing what this game comes out to be later on and everything. So it's a pleasure to meet y'all and everything. So thank you for joining us today and everything, and showing us your progress. I really love it, the concept already.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, on behalf of the whole team, we appreciate everybody's help and questions, and we hope that you will look forward to playing the final product in 2 weeks. So thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm. Now we gotta figure out who's going to be the. Parker, do you know who would like to be the second one to go? To join us on here? Let's see.
You know, with that previous game, it just occurred to me that there's so many other things that are kind of hidden from us about products, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that if you're really talking about sustainability, right, it has to be sustainability in terms of like, are the workers treated well who are, working on the stuff, right? Are
Right.
people, yeah. So there are many, many, many definitions of that, right? That maybe the player could, start to recognize as they're going through that, right?
Yeah.
Environmental
That's some kind
problems
of
are
aspect.
not separate, right? From those other
Exactly.
issues.
Everything kind of connects in a way. There's definitely a lot of experiences that people think is individual experiences or like nothing really associating or being connected to other things, but they actually kind of are,
Yeah.
actually kind of are. So we're all kind of in this together, and you don't really know who you're affecting or what you're affecting. And I think that's one of the great things about games. You're able to kind of step into the shoes or the experience of another body. So
Yeah, and MJ, or both of y'all's feedback was really good, but I like how you answered the question that they had and everything. So I was like, man, that was spot on. So it was really cool. All right, so we're bringing
I was
in.
trying to think about it while they were showing it. I was like, all right, I'm watching. Where can I make
Like, I had so many ideas popping in my head, because I'm more on the gamer side of it, and I just loved it when the text box came up. I was like, that was actually very creative already to put that in. So my imagination kicked in and stuff. So, all right.
So Jay, it looks like Time Teddy is
Yep.
next.
Skyglow is followed by Skyglow. So we need to find there's Devin.
Looks like Devin.
I think that's the only one. So we're gonna bring in Mr. Devin. Hello, Mr. Devin. Is it just
Hello.
you? Is it just you?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we spoke to you
Okay,
earlier.
okay. Solo developer. How you doing?
Yeah.
Good. Good. How are you?
We are good. We are great.
Hey, Devin.
So tell us a little bit about your game.
Yeah. So hold on. Should I turn on my camera? I can.
Yeah, you can turn on your camera, certainly. There we go.
There you
So
go.
nice.
Cool.
Right. So basically, Time Teddy is this it's basically about this bear that has access to a time traveling book, and this is basically used to get back to its mother and fix the timeline that I'm going to get into. I have a small demo to share with you guys. Yeah, so I know like we only have like around 10 minutes. I know some other people want to go. So yeah, I guess we can get right into it, and then I can give you guys a few questions afterwards about some changes we can make, and then also receive some feedback.
Great. Just got to say, I really love the name. So you explaining the concept got me really excited.
All right. Here I can just share. This right here. By the way, our team, we also have a team size of 6 people. And we just kind of, I think like, I don't know if it was necessarily one person, but we branched out to other people, reached out. Yeah, so this is what we have
Okay, so
here.
you're not a solo developer. Cool.
Feel free to speak out if you have any questions about anything, but I'm just going to demo what I can. So right here, we're currently in the present, and whenever there's a flag here, it's an indicator that you can switch to the future. So if you do that, you can see now it's a completely different scene in the same location. And you have a path here, or you can choose a platform. Basically, the switching between times shows you how much of a drastic change this area has gone through. We still have a few more assets to add in, but as you can see, I'm standing on more rocks than ice. We'll have more like trash in the area, or maybe a few other things. So you would need to cross in the present. Again, switch over. You would take this.
Nice.
Still slightly buggy, but you know, we still have a few days. So I'm gonna go this way first. So right here, there's gonna be two main things to consider. The first is this machine over here. That square represents a scientist that's going to be here out in the Arctic, kind of doing data analysis on like the state of our ice. And if you go over to this, it would be a panel, like some kind of computer, where you can load in information. There's nothing in here right now, but you can. There's a dialogue system set up right now, so you can talk to him or her, and yep. So basically, it tells you that it's dangerous. There's ice melting, but you can help the scientist out if you. So right here, you can see between the two timelines where it's slightly difficult to see because we don't have like a model in this demo, but that pillar at the end represents a depth meter. So you can see how the water level has risen over time. So then you'd be able to go over it to it and take measurements. Like so. And then if you were to come back here, it would then show up in here. It would be this paper right here. Basically, the bear would draw out what it sees on the depth meter and then can feed that into the system. And there would be like a few more things that you have to collect in this area. I don't know how much time I have, but I can show off one more, I guess.
Sure. Well, does anybody have any questions for Devin as he pulls up the next one?
I have a couple of suggestions. It's very, very cute, and like I can already feel like myself getting emotionally attached to the.
It's supposed to be meant for like all ages, hopefully.
Yeah. But so I feel like an emotional attachment to the bear already, and I loved in the dialogue saying like it wasn't safe for a baby bear because of the melting ice. I wonder, just to like really push on that a little bit, when you do the flash forward to the future, maybe showing some spots where there is still ice but actually seeing it sink, so that like to like really drive home to the player that when you show the future, it is like this same area but the ice is disappearing.
Okay, yeah, that's a good thought. In fact, in the future right here, this would be the next area you can go to. That block right there is supposed to represent some ice, and you would basically be able to. Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say you could even have some where it's like if you jump on the ice, then the ice sinks while you're standing on it, so it's like a trap. Tie it in a little bit to game mechanic also.
Right. I mean, those are like details that really matter. So it's good that we're having this discussion now, because it's good to like add that in the final moments when like we're we're trying to kind of bring together our final product. But this is basically an extraction for ice cores. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with it, but basically it's a drill that takes out a core of ice, and in that it shows you the years that it's from, and it can show you ice health based off those different years. It's kind of how scientists are figuring out that our ice quality is depreciating and all of that. So you'd be able to hit this, and then you would get an ice core that can help with your evidence, to help the scientist in your like present day.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. I mean, because essentially, you're getting, even though you came from the past, you're kind of getting a snapshot of everything that happened, and hopefully that'll help your judgment when you go back in time to decide how to fix it. So that's cool.
So if you go in here, it appears right here. You'd usually be able to drag them into these spots, but there's just a small bug with that right now. But you can talk to the scientist again, and then you'd be able to take a look at it. Water level is too high. And then says, need to get this data to the people of the world. Once this happens, you can actually switch the future, and it will change. Correspondingly, it will be fixed. So as you can see now, it's no longer like the dark place it was. And again, we would probably add in some more details here to make sure they really get the image across. Some fish, maybe brighter elements, right? Yeah, so that's what we have for now.
Awesome. I was absolutely going to suggest that the ending should go to the future and have there be ice. So it's amazing that was what y'all did.
Right. And then this platform would get you to like the end. As you can see, the bears over there. So then you'd be able to like walk over to it.
So I got a couple of questions in the chat. Jake has asked, how long do you intend the game to run?
So as of now, this is like our main level that we keep on building on. We initially had plans for 2 other levels. Unfortunately, we won't have time for that, but we have now 2 options to either add more content to this level or then start a level 2 that would have a different location, perhaps like a forest where you see like the before and then after of maybe like a deforested area. With like the amount of time we have left though, it's something that our team is really considering. Because at this point it may be better to just work on this scene, but if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I think, I think it all depends on how much time you guys feel like you have left. If you are focusing on, the one level for now, if you feel like that gets your point across for what you are hoping out of this jam, I think just in kind of an introductory kind of menu and then maybe a closing statement, that would be a nice sandwich.
Right. We're already working on both of those.
Yeah, so maybe lock that in, and then while having like concepts of level 2 and level 3, if you guys have if you guys have the time for it. So
you could always do a little mock-up and just have it like on your start screen, have the 2 levels, and I click on the second level, just the mock-up, and say coming soon, just so that people understand the big picture.
Yeah, or that.
For it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Ron,
right,
a lot
because
of great,
it can very easily be built on to have like a variety of levels where there's many different scenarios where you can get the same kind of message across, as in like the now, what can we do, and then the future of what it may look like. I think it's like pretty important to like understand like where we're heading to and what we can do to change those things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's actually like scientific research about communication of climate change that says exactly that you have to have like both seeing the problem and seeing the solutions and seeing what kind of effect it has. Like So you're like guaranteed for success with communicating that. Super cool. I was wondering. I think it's really really cool that you have science in there. That you're like helping the scientists discover more things. I wonder though if you could add a little bit of like the like action that's happening in the Arctic too. Like, so as the ice is melting, oil companies are actually going there because it's easier to drill for oil now.
Oh, okay.
Arctic,
Right.
And there are people that live up there. The Arctic is not just bears, right? There's indigenous folks who live up there, right? And they really strongly oppose that drilling up there. They've worked really, really hard to prevent that from happening, and there've been oil spills and all sorts of pollution that happens in their communities, right? And they've had some really impressive resistance too to those big companies coming in there. So I wonder if you could have just a little bit of element of that in there, where the bear, I don't know, throws a wrench in the oil well or something like that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Because that could be a real I mean it's a true thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll take that into consideration for sure. In fact, one more puzzle we may include ocean acidification, because of it's basically like the fish pollution. I mean the fish populations are starting to diminish, and we were thinking of having that being present in the polar bear's habitat, where it needs certain fish, right, to survive. So showcasing that since those are dying out, then the polar bears will also suffer from that, as well as other animals. We're trying to put that together as one of our last puzzles in this scene, but I feel like having like an openness for like this oil drilling stuff may also be important. So yeah.
Nice. A lot of great comments on the music and the audio design. So shout out to that. A couple of them kind of one leading into this question of what happens when the bear falls off, or is that impossible?
Oh, I didn't showcase it, I guess, but yes, you can fall into the water, and we will most likely have the starting point and then a point near the scientist where you would just like respawn, because unfortunately you can't really swim in this game, but yeah.
Well, overall,
yeah, we totally understand.
Yeah, beautiful graphics so far on this.
Thank you.
I know you're still working the kinks out in it, but it just, as soon as you put it up there, well, of course I had to put it up on my screen, but it was just like, I was like, whoa, that was not expecting that so early on with a game. Y'all moved quickly with that. And typically in a lot of the ones we've seen with game jams, there's people that move pretty quickly with that. But wonderful concepts, what you made with especially the water flow and everything. Yes, I find I do a show called Dive In Wednesday, so that I typically always look for stuff like that, the artwork and stuff that it just pops out. Your game so far is it just pops out and catches your imagination. And the bear, I'm gonna go with MJ on that one. It's like you're just drawn to it right away as soon as it comes out. So you're on to something good. Everybody so far that we've seen has been on to something good, but this is just wow. Your team, is it you and some other people too, or is it just you?
Yeah, so it's me and 5 other people, and
you guys.
I have like my great artists to thank for that.
You're on to something good. So keep up the good work.
How did you meet your teammates?
So one of them actually reached out to me, and when I joined, most of the team was already there. But yeah, I mean, they're all like really nice people. We have meetings 2 or 3 times a week, talk about the game. I feel like planning is very important, so it's good that we keep these updates with each other. And then it's just good to talk while making games.
It's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And before we move on to Florence versus Vapora, Jake Kess did kind of follow up their question after you answered. They said, I think since you have a lot of the assets already, you can maybe add not necessarily a level 2, but a part 2 to that level where you don't fix it all right away.
Like
Any thoughts on that?
double ending. Perfect.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
Alternate
Yeah.
ending.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll look into it.
Awesome.
Yeah. But a lot of great ideas and whatnot. That's what great games do, right? They inspire people. So yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing to traveling back in time as a polar bear. I never thought I'd say that out loud, but that's pretty cool.
That was.
That's pretty cool. Well, we appreciate it, Devin.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Feel free to reach out again if you have any questions or suggestions. I mean, I'm always here. So, yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Peace.
Enjoy the
Yeah, thank you.
class.
Great
Yeah.
work.
All right, so we're doing.
I believe Florence versus
Yeah, so we got Jared.
Vapora.
I think. Is there more? Is there more to your team in here, Jared?
It should just be me and Ian.
Where is Ian? Oh, I found it. I got it. There we go. Thank you. All right.
All right. Hello, guys. How y'all doing?
How's it going?
Hey.
You want to start?
Having us.
Thank you.
All right. Hello, guys. How y'all doing? So, I can hear somebody's feedback, or you guys got us loud in the background. But yeah, whoever would want to go first, we'd love to know a little bit about you, how you guys came together. Let us know about your game and how far along you are.
Yeah. So there's like 8 or 9 of us, and we started pretty much just people were messaging me, and I brought everyone onto the team. And Ian's our designer, so I'll let him talk about the game.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm just noticing now that my camera is not discoverable, so I guess I'll be an orange screen right now. Yeah. So one thing that we all agreed on, or the way that I found this group, so we all said we wanted to make a 2D game, and I'm a big lover of 2D games. So that was our start, and that's how we got things going. And my inspiration comes from Super Mario Bros., Hollow Knight, so some of the great 2D games that I grew up playing. And so that's really what this game looks like. It's a 2D platformer, 2D side scroller, and players play as Vapora. And I can share my screen. I have some images. This is what our art team put together. Players, can you guys see that?
It looks like it's loading. Let's see. It's loading up. Yeah, there it goes. Okay.
Right. Well, as it gets there, players play as this character Vapora, as this character Florence, who is meant to represent the plants and animals, the world, the ecosystem. And the objective of the player is to first patch up any CO2 gas leaks left by Vapora throughout the map. Maps will look, something like this if it pops up. And this is a design sketch that I put together where players need to patch up CO2 leaks and also heal the dying animals that are throughout the map. Now, when the animals can be healed, each animal has its own ability that can help the player. So an elephant, for example, can help the player reach higher platforms. This boar over here, which I think I have a video to demo how it works, can break through walls that can allow the player to advance. In this second map, or the second level that was designed, if that loads, there's a bird that can fly you to higher platforms. So there's a symbiotic relationship between the main character, Florence, and all the animals that are throughout this, this forest jungle ecosystem. And in order to heal these animals, players have to find these potions, these healing potions, these little purple. They're represented by these little purple circles, and that's another part of the game that makes it tricky. Is that these healing potions are limited. There aren't a whole lot of them, so you got to be able to find them and you got to use them wisely. And when you do use them, for example, this alligator, it can step in an acid pool and allow the player to get across that. And it really, the animals just allow the player to advance where they otherwise wouldn't be able to. And throughout the game, some of the stuff left by Vapora to make it tricky are these acid pools, and also represented by these little black shapes right here are the thorns or spikes. And if the player runs into any of these, it's as if the level resets and they got to try again. And it's a level-based game. It's a level-based game similar to Super Mario Bros., where the player just needs to complete the level to move on, and it gets harder as it goes. And the underlying theme and message here is to protect the ecosystem, protect the animals, heal them rather than hurt them. And that's a lot of the intent behind the game. Another thing I would show is what our sound team put together, which is this funky music. Hopefully you guys can hear it. Hopefully you guys heard that. I think it's pretty cool. And then I'll pass it off to Jared to talk more about programming and give a demo.
So let me share my screen here.
Yeah, that was a fun little pop.
So you guys see? So here in Unity, this is kind of what one level. So we have the player down here, obviously, and we got the spikes. We don't have everything fully implemented. Like most of the art's not really in here yet. One of the things we're planning on doing throughout the levels is starting with the forest looking very bleak and brown and not really lively yet, because of the CO2 leaks and animals aren't healed up. So as you play on, it's going to get more green and vibrant, and it's going to start looking like you're really reviving the forest and bringing life back. And so we have most of the playability for like the player in here. You can walk around, jump around here. We have spikes in here that move, and like we said, you get hit by them. Not going to be good time. Same with the acid pool, so I'll take some damage. You don't have to get right onto the healing potion. It has a radius that you get into it, and you can collect it. And so jumping also is a little bit not fully working yet, but it'll get a little bit better. And then so here we have the elephant. I'll heal him up. You press E once to heal, and then E again to use him. And then you can just walk around here, get this healing potion, and then just kind of play around through the level, and then I'll have to heal this guy and use him, get him through the wall to get to the end of the level. Actually, I have to do this first. You'll have to come here and plug that up first. Same thing, E to interact to plug it up. And we're going to have an animation where when you're healing the animals, one of our artists is working on an animation where the player will kneel down in an animation to heal up. And we're going to use the same animation for plugging the leaks. And then you'll just come here and go to the next level. But it takes us to a different scene that's not a level. But so that's pretty much what we have right now for main playability. We do have another scene in here for a level 2 that's set up, but some of the places you can't really get to, so it's not fully playable yet. But like we have the bird down here that can fly you up on a path. So where is it? So like the bird here flies up to these 2 points to get you over to here. And then one of the things that we have is that I'm pretty sure you can carry potions through levels because we used scriptable objects to hold the amount of potions you have. So I think if you make it to a level with extra potions, you'll be able to carry those over to the next level. And so, yeah, that's pretty much where we're at with it right now.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I did have a quick question. I was curious on the game mechanics. It
Mhm.
seems like Florence is her name. It seems like she can
Mhm.
heal, and then she can or she heals, and then she seals up the CO2.
Mhm.
So it seems like a lot of the variety of the game mechanics comes from the animals that she heals.
Yes.
Are you going to see a lot more of those animals kind of repeat based on certain
Yeah,
situations, or
I
like
think the main ones we're focusing on are we have the elephant, the boar, the alligator, and the the bird. I think I said boar, alligator, boar, and bird. So like this up here, this is an alligator. You'll heal him. He'll come over here and help you be able to get across this pool. Otherwise, that you can then get up. You'll be able to get over here to get that healing potion. Like this boar will break this wall. So those are the four we were focusing on because we didn't think we'd have enough time to really get any more in because we only have two artists, and I think one of our artists is focusing on the character and the other one's focusing on the environment and the animals. And so we wanted to try and scope it down to make sure we can get enough in and make sure that it's complete. And so that was kind of our focus with that.
nice.
It's a real good old school concept too. I like that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying you can go ahead, Alex.
Okay, I have a question / comment. Well, first of all, love the music, the art, the general concept. Love the idea of healing the
Thank you.
animals and the environment. You used the term symbiotic relationship. It does feel a little bit like she's just using the animals, and so I wondered if you might consider making the animal get something out of it other than just being healed. So like the bird flies up, maybe there's something up there that the bird wants.
Yeah, that's a good
You
idea.
have the alligator go into an acid pool. I'm not sure if an alligator wants to be in an acid pool, so maybe think of a murky bog or something that the alligator actually wants to be in. Just so that it doesn't seem like she's using the animals for her own gain without the animals.
Yeah, we'll
getting.
definitely think about that. I think we were kind of just thinking about a way to help the player get around while also
Yeah,
incorporating the
mechanically it
theme.
totally
But
makes sense. Yeah, mechanically it totally makes sense. I get the gameplay value, but just so that it's not presenting her as
like a parasite.
taking advantage of them, sort of.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's what it doesn't. I don't think that's what she is.
Yeah,
Right?
I won't lie. I wasn't really thinking about it that way. So we'll definitely have to think about that more and put that into play.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good call, MJ. And I actually think that you can strengthen the environmental themes by adding something like that too. Like if you can clarify, that you can actually help maybe clean up the acid pool or something like that. That it comes from a mining operation or something, and the actions that you and the animal did together are shutting that thing down, right? That I think could strengthen the environmental themes. You see, it's not just good for people, but it's also good for the ecosystems, the animals.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see. A couple questions from chat I can go ahead and read. Parker had asked, maybe instead of potion bottles, they could be a particular flower or something else more organic to the setting.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Maybe something to think about.
The overall idea with all the healing is that, whatever the healing item is, whether it's a potion or a flower, can be applied to all the animals. And it's the strategy that comes into play is how you use them. So I think a flower is a great idea. Some kind of magic flower, something like that.
Oh, yeah. And our second question, Caprani, I hope I'm not butchering that. They asked, loving this idea that animals helping the player and enabling the player to do more. There's definitely a case to be made for ecosystem services being a see the use of it or lose it kind of thing. Where do you think the break point will be between having more cool connectivity and too much complexity for the player?
So if I understand the question right, I think we were thinking about for the complexity starting off with easier levels. So we were one of the things we talked about was taking this level that's on screen right now and making it like a later level in the game for the complexity and starting with more simpler levels just to introduce each animal on their own to get the player used to the different types of what they do. And then that way we can work the player into learning how the different, parts of the forest are in the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does. I mean, especially the layout, level design. It does kind of remind me of a number of different roguelikes that I've played, and basically maps that and games that kind of rely on replayability and you experiencing one thing, gathering tools for that run, and then doing it all over again, just to kind of experience the robustness of the levels. So. Yeah, I definitely like the gameplay mechanics that are already in there. It might be interesting to have maybe different power ups or different kind of collectibles aside from just the potion and the O2 or the CO2 task to think about as well.
I can't tell you what this game reminds me of. If you do, you'll laugh because somebody said that they were inspired by Mario. I felt like I was looking at Mario too, from playing the Mario All Star, and so the theme music started playing in my head. I was like, "Dang it!" But overall, you guys are coming up with something creative, and it brought back the old school gamer in me. Now I feel old, mentioning Mario 2. But no, you guys are everybody that we've had on here so far. So I'm not just going to just be biased and just pick one person because that'd be wrong. You and the feedback has been amazing from both the mentors and Ron himself. Ron does a lot of testing on it in this real. But it's I love these game jams because the creativeness of every creator, and especially people that never knew each other before, and it's like they just surround themselves with people that are good at something. I just knocked my mic over by accident. They surround themselves with people that are good at different things, and that's what makes a great team. So hats off to you guys, and I'm wishing you all the best luck, even the other two teams that we've seen so far. So keep up the amazing work. You're on to something good.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys are rock stars.
Thank you, all of you, for your
thank
feedback.
you.
Absolutely. All right. Next up is Skyglow.
Yep, we're gonna bring in Skyglow. Oh, they already did. All right. I mean that, by the way. You guys have been amazing with the feedback. I'm just like, I'm gonna sit back here because most of it was. Well, Ron stole my one where we always tell them to put an intro and thing in. Every time we talk to somebody, it's like, think of it as if you're having a new gamer come to the game. How are they going to figure out all the controllers and stuff? So that's the concept we always go with. All right, so Skyglow it is. We're almost already to the end. It feels like it goes by quickly. All right, here we go.
Yeah, I believe two more teams.
Marcy and Farah and Avery. Here we go. I think they're there.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Hello, team.
All right. Are we all here?
I'm making sure. Are y'all?
Yeah, I think we're all here. Our team is originally 10 people, but I'm gonna be presenting today. My name is Marcia. It's so nice to meet you guys. It's an honor to be here. But I have 4 other people here with me on my team. I'm the level designer and programmer for Skyglow, and I'll let my other teammates introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Farah. I'm also one of the programmers for Skyglow.
Hello, I'm Onik. I'm a designer and programmer for Skyglow. Hi, my name's Kimberly. I'm one of the 2D artists and also a part of production management for Skyglow.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Avery. I'm also a 2D artist for Skyglow.
Thank you so much. But our game Skyglow is basically a narrative-based 2.5D game focusing on light pollution and the implications of urbanization in a coastal forest. And it's mainly told through the eyes of animal residents of a community nested between the sea and the woods. So we chose light pollution and because we thought it was a really overlooked type of climate issue that people don't really pay much attention to. And we realized that, these environmental hazards have disrupted the environment around it and everything. So I'm going to be streaming the Notion board that our artist Kimberly made for us. So you can see most of our assets here and everything. And then I'm going to be screen sharing a live playtest so you can see the game and how it works.
Awesome.
So first we have our mood board here. It's very small, but it's just our concept and like our storyboarding, stuff like that. And our environment art can be seen here. I think Kimberly and Avery, yes, they've done some great work with the urban assets and forest assets.
Amazing. Beautiful.
Yeah. And in our game, we have, I think, 4 different settings. One is the observatory, where our main character finds like a book about stars, and then they start to realize like, oh, the sky and the environment, like it looks so different before. So he ends up going on a journey, like trying to find these stars and make the stars go back to the sky again. Yeah, we have the observatory, we have a forest, we have a town, and I think our last setting is a beach. And we have our 3D character model. Our 3D character artist is not here right now, but he made this model of our main character, Talia, and you can see the animations here. And then we have our 2D character sheet of Talia herself. And I will be playing the minimal viable product that we made. I think this was the result of our sprint last week.
Can you essentially make it a full screen, kind of?
Oh yeah, so sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, so that's the video. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, at the end of our video that you see there, that's the constellation minigame that we implemented for players to play after they find a certain number of stars. They interact with an NPC, and then this is basically the idea of shooting back stars into the sky.
Interesting.
So yeah. I'm gonna be screen sharing the playtest now. And if any of my team members, if they want to add anything, they could feel free to do that. We haven't gone around to implementing music yet, but this is our base level. It's still in a very gray box, like white box state, but I think while we are able to gray box everything, we can see like how the levels play out and how the player can interact. So this is our forest level. This is where we want the player to experience like platforming, not too hard, not too easy, but it's basically a way for the player to get to the next level where they talk to an NPC. And as you can see here, we have stars that the player can interact and collect with. This is basically like the amount of stars that the player can see while they're on their journey, and then they collect them, and then it'll go back into confronting the mayor at the end of our game, and that's where we get like these stars, and the mayor can see like, oh, the impact on the town is not good because light pollution is actually affecting all the animals and its creatures. And our main character Talia here, she tries to inform them of what's going on, and eventually we get them to make change in this town. So it's kind of like a call to action for the player.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
absolutely love the animations on the character.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Our
it's cool.
3D artist did a great job.
Yeah, I
So
really
this
love
is
2.5D games. The
yeah.
background, 2D, and everything is really thrown together well.
Yeah, so this is our first quest with the moth. You can read some of the dialogue here. So we've tried to focus on 3 main animals. We chose the moth for the first one. This one teaches the player about how the lamps are affecting the moth because it's drawn to these lamps, but really they should be drawn to like the moonlight, but because of the light pollution, they can't really be drawn to the moonlight. And we tried to portray this in kind of a toxic relationship kind of way, so the player could digest it easier.
Cool. That's awesome. Is anybody on your team a writer or focused on narrative design, or is that just something you guys kind of just thought about?
We do have a main writer. He's not here with us right now, but I know that Kimberly and Avery have also stepped up in writing and getting our dialogue in.
Yeah. Those are definitely skill sets that that we really love to see as gamers. Really love to see in games and everything like that. It's not just like whether it's a shooter or some other kind of game and just people talking, right? The ability for dialogue and for people's story to kind of affect the player and even be a part of the game mechanics themselves is really an amazing opportunity. So kudos for being able to do that.
Are you going?
Yeah, it's definitely a hard job. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was wondering because of the way it looks, it almost looks like an old school painting, like a book that you're reading, like that I used to read when I was little. I was kind of loving the artwork of the background of the little houses and stuff because it reminded me of reading a book and stuff. Is that the kind of the theme you're going with it?
Yeah, but we wanted to make it like more childish and more open for like children to play as well.
I love
it. So we have a lot of cutesy assets, as you can see with our cat here, and we also have like the 2D backgrounds. We kind of went for like a more an animalistic, cartoonish kind of vibe. Yeah.
I wonder if you have considered the way you have the stars up on the posts made me think that maybe you could have the stars essentially be the light posts. And so when you take the star out, the light post goes out. And so it's almost like you're taking the artificial light and putting it back into the sky, like as a metaphor.
Yeah, I think we were aiming to go for that message. I love the idea. But yeah, I think that's what our writer and our programming team and also our team agreed with. Since we're utilizing the constellation game, so where it's kind of like collecting these stars in our UI, and then we're going to be shooting them back into the sky.
Yeah, and you can do with the Unity's, I don't know if you'd be using the 2D lighting or the 3D lighting system, but yeah, if it's like part of the 2D background, like having those light posts turn off, I think would be a fun like impact for the player to see like that they're changing the environment.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be a good thing to add. Thank you.
Yeah. We had a number of people in the chat say it reminds them of the game Night in the Woods.
Oh yeah, that was definitely one of our main inspirations, and we also took inspiration from Planet of Lana with the type of 2.5D environment and side scroll. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
So how did your team come together, and where'd you get this kind of idea from? What inspired you?
So me personally, I know Farah from school, and she DM'd me, and she saw this group of people, and we both saw their portfolio, and they were really talented. So we were like, oh, we would love to join your team. And then we ended up forming, I think, a group of 10 people. And then I think we all had like our first pitch meeting, like what we wanted to do. Everyone did a bunch of research, so we almost ended up with like a water pollution type game. But I think we also all decided that light pollution was a really good idea and topic to talk about since it's so overlooked. So yeah, and then I think Avery, she did like a concept art of this cat, and I think we all really loved it. So we decided to go with that, as our main character.
That's cool. That's cool.
I also love that the cat has glasses. I wondered if the backstory of the cat is that like her eyesight is bad because of the light pollution, or is it like a
Oh yeah, that would be really cool to add.
So here's a good question. So when you finish the game jam, are you going to continue after this to make games with the same people? Or is that your goal? Or what is your goal after this?
I think after this, we'd love to push our game and market it to someone who works with light pollution. And I think we were talking about this today. Donating it to like a charity or like an organization that works with combating light pollution. And we were gonna take like the money we make from our game or whatever donations people want to make. We were gonna donate them to charity.
Love it.
To help combat, this problem of light pollution.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you guys, we got
I just had one really
our
small thing, which is like, I wonder if y'all could work in how light pollution is linked to other things too. Like for instance, there are a lot of folks, right, who work the night shift at like factories, right? Certain types of factories, like there's some kinds of factories even that only run at night right now because that's when electricity is cheaper. So like they run these that kind of sucks for the workers, right, to have to be completely unsynced with the sun. So I wonder if y'all could maybe fit in a message there of like that you're able to switch something to switch people back to the day shift or something, as a way to help the light pollution too.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. I also know that in our game, the interaction with the sea turtle has something to do with like their birth patterns and like water pollution even. So we're trying to tie in as many themes because we know that climate change and like its issues isn't just like one problem.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, that's true about the sea turtles too. I grew up in coastal North Carolina, and that's a major issue when the eggs hatch. They look for the moonlight in the water to get them, there in those first crucial minutes of life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there with sea turtles there are really interesting things. Like apparently in hotter temperatures, the babies tend to be either more male or more female. It kind of like messes with the natural, ratios of stuff, right? Yeah, and there are definitely water pollution issues as well, for sure.
Yeah, there's so many issues currently ongoing. Also, I wanted to showcase real quick. We have a journal, and this is basically where throughout the game the player can collect facts or they learn more about like how the environment is changing and how certain animals are affected. So we have this journal. It's definitely in development, but it's gonna be like after a certain sequence or the player passes through a certain event or an interaction, more facts will pop up. So this will pop up like one by one, like this group and then another group, and then the player can reference it whenever they want, and they also get to learn more like facts and be educated about light pollution itself. Yeah.
Just a suggestion, since you have a journal and you have a lot of artists on your team, I love when games have journals where it has like a drawn version of something in the journal that I know world with a different art asset.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Got a comment from Caprani in the chat. They said you might need to swap out the cat for a wild animal with them, though. Keeping cats indoors is another one of their causes besides light pollution. So I guess maybe just something to consider. I know we was talking about the cat having the glasses and whatnot, but
Oh, I see.
never
I
knew
see.
that. A lot of random things I'm learning just in the last 2 hours.
I know, and I'm on the same
But
page.
yeah, this is all amazing.
Man, hats off to you guys.
Definitely.
I mean,
Thank you.
4 in a row. Who would have thunk it? Amazing concepts and great ideas, and also great feedback. Go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yes. No, you're good. No, I was just saying. I actually think we have 2 more games left. So
2 more games. Well, 4 in a row of just everybody with some great concepts and then good feedbacks too. So man, I just wanted to start going twinkle twinkle little star all of a sudden.
Yeah.
We definitely love the concept. I'm a big space head, so anything with stars or anything, I'm already going to be. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the release so we can throw some money at help the cause.
Exactly. And play it.
Thank you so much.
And play it.
Yeah,
on
thank
the
you so much for your
Dargan
help.
Wednesday. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely.
No, thanks guys for hanging out, and good luck for the rest of the climate jam and stuff. I can't wait to see the final product as well.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much for having us.
It's our pleasure.
All right. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
So you said Orogeny landing?
Hi, you guys. So it looks like, Orogeny.
What is...
I feel like I'm not saying that wrong.
Who is part of that one? Which one is the Orogeny? Is that...
Landing, Orogeny landing, then...
Or who's the Orogeny landing one?
Oh, maybe we got 3 more, okay.
I gotta figure out who that one is because they're not listed as that. Oh, I see them. The one that has K on it. I'm bringing them in.
Okay, cool. I hate it when Discord shortens names like that.
Yes.
But, yeah. I actually didn't get to mention this beforehand, but the indie cluster for you guys, a part of the jam, the indie cluster is actually doing a sponsor where if you participate in the jam and you want to continue, we want to be able to offer you a discount for our QA services. So for those that might need a professional eye when you're continuing your game, please just hit us up, indiecluster.com.
All right, so now we got...
All right, did we get...
How we say it? Say your name for us.
Caprani. Yeah, please. Caprani. I don't want to butcher. What is it?
Caprani. Can you hear me okay?
Caprani. Okay. I didn't butcher it too much. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Had some great feedback in the chat.
Thanks. Okay. Orogeny landing is so I'm solo on this one. So it's been quite a lot, but I really like it though. So what I tried to focus on was sort of an open world concept, rather than like a 2.5 or a 2D kind of game. So I had to rely really heavily on things that I did procedurally, sort of rather than hand placed. But my general here, let me see if I can share my screen or if I'm already doing that. The general layout. Can you see that okay?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, cool.
Loading now, I guess.
What I tried to focus on was sort of a theme of climate justice. I tried to put so I'm from a part of Appalachia that is kind of going to, if we do everything we need to do, it's one of the areas that's going to have to work very hard to not get left behind, which is kind of something that trouble they've had in the past if you know much of your history of the United States. And so what I just moved us forward a few years into the future, 2030-ish, and sort of the global setting is that we've had a lot of sort of national ineffective or oppositional regimes when it comes to doing something about climate change. We start to see some real problems, and so we usher in a like a New Deal-esque kind of sweep of sort of visionary legislation. Think like sort of the stuff they did for the Dust Bowl back in the day, like the NCRS and all of that, sort of coming in and um, trying to really make a lot of change really fast before things get really, really bad. In that case, and in now, it's already kind of really, really bad, but still, same idea. Um, and so the setting is that you're sort of hired by this sort of national uh, organization to be a climate liaison for a community that would otherwise, is very heavily fossil fuel dependent, and helping them with that transition out of that so that they don't, you know, just kind of fall apart along the way. Because, like that's kind of a problem with a lot of the I'm old enough to remember a lot of the misinformation and stuff coming out about climate change. So that was really persuasive in a lot of those communities because, if you're looking around and you're like, well, I don't see a place for me or what we kind of do in this future, that's, makes a problem. So your job is it's a very narrative driven game. Your job is to kind of help individuals within that community um, find a role in that future. And so what I did is I based it on a a real kind of place, but I didn't want to do like, oh, hey, it's a coal mine or it's a place that deals directly in like pulling oil up out of the ground. I wanted to do something that's on the infrastructure end of things, on the ancillary. So down where I grew up, there were these coal terminals, which I took a trip back down home to take some of these photos, but basically they look kind of like this. It's a great big old spot where you're moving um, coal either off of a barge and onto a rail or off of a rail and onto a barge. It's basically like a staging area. They don't employ a lot of people, but they employ some. And they just pull coal off the track or off the trains on the track, dump it. When the barge comes along, you feed it down one of these lines. Took a picture of one somewhere here, and comes up a conveyor, dropped onto a longer conveyor, and then dropped onto a barge sitting in the river. I actually grew up down the street from one of these, so I kind of know them pretty well. I actually saw this one here catch on fire one time. That was wild. But in any case, that's the kind of the setting. Sorry, I can't hear you guys. Oh, I've muted the. There we go. Oh, okay. So, what I did is I took and I pulled a landscape in from an area like that, and this is the place I made. And
make sure you mute your stream, by the way.
Sorry, what? Did the stream interrupt?
Yeah, your stream's coming through.
Oh, is that why I'm getting the feedback? Oh, is that why I'm getting the feedback?
This is so cool. It's amazing that this is all based on real places. I love that this is this authentic story that you're telling.
Yeah, I really like that aspect of it. I feel like I can pull up a map and just like play your game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that aspect of it. I feel like I can pull up a map and just like play your game.
Yeah.
Are you guys still getting the feedback or no?
Yeah, I'm hearing the feedback from your end.
I think you have the stream unmuted.
Yeah, I'm hearing the feedback.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Is that better?
I think so. Sounded like it cut off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. So, basically, so like these guys here, the sort of the layout is I built a town around that. Or rather, I'm in the process of building a town. You see, here's the little coal, the rail. Player gets spawned in here. This will be the aim is that this is a car, but it's actually sort of a company car provided to you by the folks that hire you on, but it arrived a couple months before you did. It's been vandalized. Dude standing here is the sheriff. He kind of introduces you to the town. Let's see if we can get some play. I haven't written his dialogue yet. Originally, my scale was to shoot for 10 characters, but meshes are adjustable, so you can either choose to be or here or here. But in any case, so I haven't written him in yet. All of the my original shoot was to go for 10 characters, but that turned out to be a lot. So at least for this stage, I'm shooting for 5. But so like here's the town mechanic. You go to him after his dialogue's mostly written. After you find out that your car's been messed with, you go to him, and he's on his way to this little diner. But sort of your aim is to, through dialogue, sort of choose a path that helps the folks sort of see their place in that future. You can affect them economically, you can affect them in terms of their climate impact, and you can affect them in terms of whether or not they want to stay in town or leave. So like for instance here, if you tell the town mechanic, he's this old dude that from what you understand that EVs are going to be the only car around soon enough, you might want to learn to work on them. And so if you tell him that, he wants to get retired, or he wants to go retire. And so that ends your dialogue with him, which then there's a counter that says, hey, he wants to leave the town. His climate impact is better because he's not fixing up all these cars, but his sort of economic prosperity goes down, and his residency or inclusivity in the town goes down. So, and then, but sort of the story sort of weaves back and forth through all of these people. I chose last names that make sense for the area based off of a list of early pioneer families in that region.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's funny because like I half the names I'm like, oh, I know somebody, but that's
what exactly? Yeah, how'd you like come up with this concept? Like what drew you to this in Appalachia?
Whenever I so like being from somewhere like this kind of made me be like, hey, like we talk a lot about climate justice and a lot about the communities that are going to get hurt or impacted by rising sea level, or sort of the effects of our doing things badly. And so for me, I was like, well, I think part of the reason that like a lot of the opposition to doing something about climate change in the community I came from is sort of seated in some of it's in misinformation, sure, but a lot of it's in feeling like there's no place for them in the future. And so that kind of gave me the impetus to make this. I also tried to craft the landscape to where it actually sort of looks like the place, but also has some of its own effects that are subtle. Like, so for instance, if you've ever seen, like, this is not nearby, but regionally close. This is the Blue Ridge Mountains. If you see that blue, that's actually like, I think it's isoprene or something. It's a chemical that the plants secrete. It's the oaks and poplars and stuff whenever they get a little bit too heat stressed. And so like whenever I went back down to do to take photos and kind of see if things had changed. Like whenever we were driving in, we first hit all the hills. Like you see, like here's one of the larger ones, but you see all the hills kind of nestled in among this. This is Charleston, West Virginia. But we're like, hey man, like why does it look so foggy? But like we actually thought there was like a forest fire or something. And it turns out a lot of that sort of what was historically um, more in sort of further south in Appalachia seems to be moving north. So we're in a heat wave or it's hot as all get out down there right now, and it actually looks this foggy. And I was like, this is different. This is not something I remember from my youth. Um, this over here, these will be barges.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
so
would
that
love
was kind of the
would love for one of the characters to have that same question, or even just
yeah, because I
mention
guess
what you just said. You know.
there's some asthma effects. So I was thinking I would give them. Sounds terrible to be like I was good. I was thinking I'd give them asthma, but something that like, but for the most part, like it's not really on their radar except for the fact that like things are changing. And so like I want the character's sort of role to be including them in that change, figuring out how to make them feel. And like the other thing I'm currently struggling with is a bit of like feedback, right? So like how do I let the character know that this person's future is going to be good before like the end of the game? And so what I was thinking, like you notice like there's these little green bars above their heads, right? And so like maybe have sort of something that gives some indicator as you interact with them that I don't know, like your choices are having some either economic impact or maybe making their climate impact reduced. And so maybe some subtle color change kind of thing going on. Originally, I was playing with the idea of like, where's my early sketch? Oh, like a comic book panel kind of stuff. And then what I would do is in the sort of the space between panels, um, show a lot of color change, a lot of change in the um, what things look like. And so, but turns out that's really hard to do. Um,
Mm.
and so I don't know. I may just be going for something a little more like a tracker bar or something. But I
Mhm.
struggle with that because like on the one hand, like having that would be great for great feedback for the player. But on the other hand, like a lot of times when you're having these conversations or you're talking to people about climate or you're talking to them about the environment, you really don't know, like or
Yeah.
advice that we might have had for somebody 20 years ago
Yeah.
may not necessarily be the best advice today.
I think that's a good point. I mean, the idea of I do like the idea of the bar and the value system, but it might it may be a bit more subjective than what you want,
Hmm.
to convey to the player. I wonder if even if you have like the goal for you or your personal goal or even a side quest or something is to maybe like recruit individuals to like a promise to be more aware club of the environment or something like that. So that way, if they sign up, that they are conscious of doing better in the future. Something like that.
Well,
Do you think something
it's
like that would
funny you
work?
mention that because one of the things I wanted to try and do is to try and make it synergistic. So like if I get to the end of this dialogue here, there's I think it's after this one. Yeah, here we go. Okay, like ignore this was from a previous attempt. So like over here, rather than having stats for like reasoning and stuff like you would see in a more conventional game, to have a tracker of the different people in the area. And so like if I unlock this with him, maybe it gives me uh, a means by which here's like I can ask him about some of the other people in town and like maybe this one like these I haven't written out yet but like industry transition, well you want to talk to Heather Parsons, or hey somebody who's working in government and like might want to work with a nonprofit, talk to Garrett Smith, that's the sheriff from before. um, Climate misinformation in education, talk to Ryan Castro, the teacher. And so like that those are unlocked through like building on the interconnectivity of the people in the town. So maybe that's something along those lines. But I don't know how to make that more visual.
MJ, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was gonna suggest earlier that when you were talking about having different colors for the different options or like showing how things change, rather than using colors, you could do like a sim style thought bubble above the character's head about like what's like with icons. It's like what's their main concern or like their two main concerns.
Oh,
And
I
then when you
love
show the
that.
options, you could have the same icons next to the different options that's like, oh, this is to like address, but like they might have two concerns and maybe you can't address both of them, right?
Oh,
So
I love
showing,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
'Cause
their concerns could change afterwards. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I've solved this, and then oh no, they have a totally different concern now.
Yeah, because I played around with the idea of these bubbles over their head being where I would do the text, and I'm like, man, that's just way too much text. But like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, cool.
I had another question. I was just curious if you think that your plan for the people who would play this to be people who live in these kind of areas or people who live outside of these kind of areas to become more aware. Like, are you thinking of it more as like reflective of their own situation, or like people who live in all kinds of different areas don't know what is regionally challenging about these areas?
Oh, well, see, that's where like I hadn't considered that until the other day. The other day, there was this prompt for a through line where you guys sort of urged us to think about like, hey, what do you want people to take away? And for me, like one, like I really want to tell a good story. I feel like a good story brings people into a thing. But like after thinking about it, I was like, man, like what I would really want is that if you're not from somewhere like that, you come away like seeing some of the complexities of like what that is. And that you could like make that person who would otherwise be an enemy a friend, or not maybe even not a friend, but uh, you know, a co. I'm sure there's a word for it, but like where you're working
Ally
together.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Companion,
Um,
yeah. I
but
like
if you are from there, um, maybe like that you feel seen, that you
Yeah.
feel like maybe you could be a part of that change, and that you're like, oh man, like yeah, it's not all roses, but at the same time, like somebody gets me, and like maybe the transition might be hard for this community, but at least I'm seen. At least I'm
yeah,
considered. Like there's this great quote from like Aldo Leopold I found along the way, the old conservation guy from back in the day. And where was it? It was one of them about like it was about Dust Bowl farmers, and it was like, where did I put it? He was talks about seeing these like hard boiled like old farmers that like had been doing things wrong like their whole life. Yeah, here it is. This whole effort to rebuild and stabilize the countryside is not without its disappointments and mistakes. What matter though, these temporary what matter though is these temporary growing pains when one can cast his eye upon the hills and see hard-boiled old farmers who spent their lives destroying land now carrying water by hand to their new plantations. Like I thought that was really powerful. I'm like, man, like if I could hope for anything, it'd be that for where I'm from.
yeah. That's awesome. It's definitely kind of a serious and almost love letter to the message that you're trying to communicate. As in, this environment does actually exist, and you have a real story that you want to tell. So I commend you on that. It's definitely challenging, but you were up for the task. So congrats on that. Can't wait to see it when
Yeah,
it's done.
absolutely. Just incredible work. Yeah. I think this is so important to tell this story. Yeah.
Right.
I feel like you're putting it in this narrative that already has this tension right from the get-go with the car that's been messed up, right? And there's probably some kind of investigative element as well as like helping the people, right? So Yeah, I love it. I can't wait to play this. It looks just amazing too. Really impressive.
Yeah, the way it's gonna unfold, I know it's gonna be a pretty cool experience. So
Agreed.
nice.
Thanks.
Nice.
Very great concept.
Well, it was great meeting you, Caprani. Yeah, great meeting you. Definitely be looking forward to seeing the game in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and good luck on the rest of the competition. You definitely do have it. Everybody's been having a great concept, especially yours. I liked it.
Thanks.
My pleasure. Alrighty, so now I believe it is Microforce, if I'm not mistaken, next.
Yeah, Microforestry. Microforestry, and I think Parker mentioned there's one more after that. So.
Yep. And I see who the last person is. Hello, team.
Hi.
Hello. Hello. How are we doing today?
Great.
Excellent.
That's good. Sounds good. Well, it's
I
great
don't
meeting you
have a
guys.
camera, unfortunately.
That's all right.
It's all good. We know you're beautiful. All good.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves and what you're working on.
Yeah, so we're a group of students from Canada, and we were looking for something to work on over the summer, and we saw this jam, and we thought it would be a good opportunity to do something that was, like related to our studies, but also sort of, I don't know, altruistic a bit, something like purposeful, meaningful, impactful.
Right.
So I read this article about microforests in 2019 from like a climate resiliency, like adaptation point of view, and it talked about how we should be planting a lot of trees to capture carbon, which is a really important thing that we're going to have to do basically globally for the next, foreseeable future, basically, right? So our game is based off of the concept of the Miyawaki method, which is basically this guy came up with a way to make plants grow much faster than they would normally by planting them super densely and planting a very diverse set of local seeds for your region, your whatever grows natively. So we chose to research a bunch of plants that grow sort of in our bioregion. And so I'm going to just stream here and show you what we've cooked up so far. Can you see the game okay?
Yes, I see it. Yep.
Okay, so our game is Microforestry the Miyawaki way. We have a menu that's mostly functional with some graphics options. I'm just going to get right underway. Basically, we have sort of a Tetris-like setup for the upcoming plants that you can have. The mouse controls sort of where you're going to be planting your plant. And when you click, you can place a plant. And we're scoring you based on how densely you plant things and how diversely you plant things. So the more different species you can fit into a plant's sort of zone of influence, the better you'll be scored. And that's basically the entire game. It's sort of like a puzzle strategy game. Lots of inspirations from stuff like Tetris, a game called Chime, which was like you fill a board over time instead of like filling up lines like in Tetris. Islanders, which is like a village building game where you sort of are given buildings and you have to make the best sort of plan for your arrangement to get the best score. And so that's kind of what we were aiming to make. We do have a lot of placeholder art still. The soil, the border region here, the grass as well. Most of the UI as well, I would say, is going to be workshopped at least a little bit more.
I feel like
Yeah,
it
so you
definitely
have
gets
some.
the point across. I think
Yeah,
that oh, sorry, there's somebody trying to ask something.
no, it's okay. It's okay. Please finish your point.
Oh no, I was just gonna ask. So is the solid color circle, is that like the actual plant and you can't,
Yeah, yeah,
cross
exactly.
over that, and then
Exactly.
the
So the
outline.
indicator turns red when you can't place, and you'll hear we have this
Oh, okay.
beautiful
Okay.
sort of like invalid sound that you
Yeah.
can't place there.
And is the other circle the influence circle?
That's exactly right. So the way that diversity works is it gets increased based on what like influence zone to influence zone, which is why we see this sort of faint outline sort of around the circles. And so this will get 1, and then if I was in 2, I would get, and then there's like this third one over here. So as it's going into other plants' influence zones, the biodiversity is increasing, and then as you bring other plants directly into its sphere, then the density will increase as well. So it's very simple, but it mimics real life. The mechanism behind this forest planting technique. And we thought that this game could maybe help people who are already aware of maybe the climate crisis and who are maybe looking for something more on a local level that they could maybe organize and plant something that has a meaningful carbon drawdown sort of impact.
Right.
It's sort of bigger than personal consumption, but also it's not like, other more extreme forms of action.
I can see it kind of. You had mentioned you kind of researched the local plants, but I could see it. Every level, kind of being in a different region, and for individuals to have that same kind of curiosity about what grow well in their region. I know me, I'm very interested in that after hearing you speak about the game.
Yeah, that would be a big plan for content expansion if we wanted to make like further like a sequel or something. I could easily see us expanding it into other bioregions. I would have loved to have made a more jungle-y sort of environment rather than a more boreal foresty environment. Personally, but the tools that we have available, like in Unity, for example, all these trees are built just using the Unity tree tool and some assets made by our artist, and they're really much more suited to this kind of plant bioregion sort of type of plant, like pine and spruce and birch. I mean, they're all very easy to create with these tools, but other sort of more exotic looking plants are not so easy. We also have a hold function like in Tetris, so you can put a plant to the side and bring it back. So there is a little bit of element of strategy there if you want to like save a big one, or you say, I want to put the big one out now.
So got a couple questions in chat, but I want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to talk.
Yeah, I was going to point out that you'll notice a lot of the plants are kind of overlapping now. That's because they actually grow as you plant more. Every time you plant a seed, all the plants that are already planted will grow, and the amount that they grow will increase as more plants are planted. So
that's cool.
It's actually based. It's based on your biodiversity and your density. So it's basically exactly like the real life mechanics where the better you're doing in terms of density and diversity, the faster things will grow. And the way that it works in real life, the application of this like why is because they're competing for all the resources in the same space: light, water, nutrients in the soil.
They grow more.
So they grow more because they're all competing with the same limited resource pool.
Interesting. Because I was going to ask, does that diversity boost kind of work in the same way as you would think it would? Pretty cool.
I think mechanically this is really solid, and I can see how all of the mechanics that are implemented work well together. And since it's so far along, I just wanted to suggest some stretch goals because it seems like what you have works really well. So I was just gonna suggest that at the end, I don't know what your end screen looks like because
I mean, I could talk a little bit about that, about our plans. We were thinking.
Oh, sorry. I was just
Go
gonna
ahead.
suggest that you could have like because it's 3D assets, you could have a camera fly through to see it like first person. It could be just like a really fun perspective change for the player, and you could have like I don't know little birds or something in the trees.
Yeah.
And then you could have like a screenshot that they could like share on social media, like, this is my garden.
I agree. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, that was I was gonna say. One of our teammates actually just suggested today that we should actually have like a first-person controller at the end that maybe you could go and walk around and see your work. Because I mean, you can get really up close and really see like the plants, but to see it from a completely different perspective would be, yeah, maybe even better.
Yeah, you want to feel how your positive impact on the planet. You know, like
we just added a feature where you can hide the color indicators so that you can get just a look at what it looks like without all the kind of
noise,
gamey effects going on.
Yeah.
I think there's also something about like soil quality improves when there's more variety of the plants growing in the soil, and you could maybe just have like like a sphere of influence of like positive soil around the zone that you've planted or something.
Yeah, we considered that as a mechanic. It's very difficult to show like on top of, unless we had like some sort of like way to cycle through different like modes of viewing, like some games do, for showing different like resources, or it's popular in like I want to say simulator games like
City Builders.
Yeah, or like anything like that where you have to manage like waste or water or electricity, and so you have an entirely separate overlay for those things. If we had more time, for sure, I would have liked to have added like water, soil, like different nutrient things like nitrogen. I think is the main one. Stuff like that.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily suggesting that you needed to add additional mechanics or overlays, but just that like you have like the really dark, like murky looking soil, and just like having a gradient color change around where you planted that just makes it look sort of richer and healthier.
Gotcha.
Maybe that is the healthy color of soil. I don't know what soil looks like.
Yeah, I would say dark, moist. This is pretty apt, but we are actually it's all in development. Let me see if I could just pull it up here real quick. It should be, yeah. So these are like some of our textures that we're planning on implementing. They're all tileable. So these are just, you know, some dirt, some sands, grass, maybe like a path will be going down here. You know, like some brick walls, like a low wall surrounding the level, that kind of thing.
Parker asked in the chat, does the game have a fail state, or maybe when you finish, there can be like 20 years later with a brief message of how the forest handled disease, what animals moved in, etc.
Yeah, that would be, I think, if we had like some way to like dynamically grow our plants to be like an even larger state. I would love to do that. Something that we thought about during development was maybe adding, like, depending on what your carbon captured score is at the end of the game, saying like, okay, this is equivalent to like 1.6 commercial flights or something, you know, worth of fuel or something pulled from the atmosphere, which is like kind of a lot when you think about it. And I don't know. I for sure we want to have some sort of like end screen, high scores, something like that. As for failure state, we wanted it to be more like of a relaxing, low punishment sort of game. The worst you can do is poorly. So I'll show you an example. Like, I'll just restart really quick. Like, if you try and just plant things really sparsely, like, you won't lose, but you definitely won't be able to do as well as if you sort of strategically cluster things up and make the best place yeah, like if I get another big one, I'm like already basically cooked here, right? Like not really, but you get the idea. It's much easier to lose
You can see
making.
even with this, you get pretty close to 100% forestation, and we haven't implemented it yet, but you're going to have the option to basically stop creating the forest whenever you're over 100%, and when you feel that you just can't place anything else, or you're satisfied with how much you've planted, you can just stop, and you get kind of the results at the end.
Yeah, so like that's basically it. I'm dead. I would call this like the fail state, is just when you can't play anymore.
Yeah, I
Do
wonder
they
if
have a mechanical way to detect when they have lost, or they just have to self-select that they have lost?
Yeah, we thought about like ways that we could have an algorithm that would detect it. I couldn't figure one out. If you know of one, please let us know. Yeah, it would basically just be a self-selection thing based on forestation progress, this number up at the top. Basically, it's just a grid of like sensors that get disabled when you place a plant. And as you near some threshold, this reaches towards 100%. And as you pass that threshold, it goes past 100%. And we just wanted to use 100% as the cutoff to show another button that's like, are you finished? Are you sure you can't place another plant? That kind of thing.
It just rather than algorithmically detecting it, you could just have like a timer that while they're holding a plant, they only have a certain amount of time to place it, and then if the timer runs out while they're still holding that plant, then that's what triggers the end.
Yeah,
we
thought about that direction too.
The reason we decided against something like that is because, like was mentioned previously, we didn't want to make it like too stressful or punishing of a game. We really wanted to focus on kind of just a chill, relaxing kind of game with the ambience. You hear a little bit of wind. We have someone writing the music that'll be added pretty soon.
There's a day-night cycle. There's
a rain.
There's the rain. Yeah.
I really like the dirt. I love the dirt flying out in the screen shake. That's really nice.
Yeah, the screen shake is nice. Yeah. Tuxie actually mentioned a little bit as far as it would be interesting to see animations of insects and plants, or see animations of the insects that the plants attract as you build it. So
yeah,
again, another thing that kind of adds to the environment as you're playing it. So
we actually originally planned to have bugs and birds to be dynamically joining your scene, kind of based on the same growth factor that's calculated by your density and diversity. So as you score better, you would have more and more bees or pollinators and birds sort of coming in and visiting you. It's looking like we're not going to really have the art time budget to accomplish that before the deadline. But if we do continue working on this past this jam, for sure, that's going to be like one of the first things that we put in.
For sure.
Wonder if a sound effect could be a quick way to do that if you can't get the art.
That's a good idea. Yeah, just having kind of
ambient
more
bird
and more
sound.
Birds,
yeah,
or bees buzzing, things like that, just to kind of add that effect without necessarily adding the animations and all that. It's a good idea.
You mentioned offsetting the I think you said planes, or I can't remember what you said. You were the offsetting of the carbon, but you could have like sounds of planes overhead in the beginning, and then have it like gradually shift as you play your forest to like birds and insects, so you hear the shift from the human sounds to the more nature sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a great puzzle game because I love puzzles. So when you said puzzle, you already piqued my interest.
Yeah, pretty simple and relaxing.
Yes.
Everything's a circle, so it's not like you have to like maneuver and shape things, turn them around.
Oh,
and
there's
stuff
the
like
rain.
That. Could be a. You said rain? Is there rain?
Yeah, there's rain. It's pretty subtle.
Cool.
I don't know if it's coming across very well on the stream, but there's drops coming in, and there's the splashes.
That's cool.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Tuxie also said maybe extra points for encouraging the garden for certain pollinators as well.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, definitely like you can do with it, especially if you want to keep it like low stress. I like that aspect of it because it does separate certain games apart. So definitely great direction, great art, and looking forward to the music, everything. I mean, every now and then you want to play something that you can just
take your mind off
feel
just
feel good
relax.
in.
Yeah. And this is.
I mean, that's why I like people do gardening and stuff now. My mom has a garden and everything.
Don't mind me. I'm just planting my plants in this puzzle right now.
Right. Just leave me alone.
Leave me
let
alone.
let me plant some forest. Let me help the planet in my own way. But that's cool. Parker also mentioned as far as aesthetically, the kind of the environment that you have, could the soil be more rounder in the different levels, or why did you choose to have the rectangle in this?
This is actually just a holdover from our initial prototype, where there was just sort of flat colors and it was just fully gray boxed, more or less.
Yeah.
In the final version, we thought about using something maybe more like, rounded corners, a little bit more organically shaped, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it lends itself to something more like the rest of the shapes, circular and organic looking.
Yeah, because it could be somebody's garden, and then the next one could be like a forest bed next to a river or something, and then you could have just different, to include the environment in there.
Yeah, the original I don't want to say like concept, but like idea, like I don't know. The idea behind Milwaukee forests is that they're able to be grown in such a small plot of land, as small as a parking space, is what they claim. Is that this works with like almost no area. So
okay,
we thought about like having levels that sort of encapsulated that smallness to them. Like you said, someone's front yard, or like a city block park. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see a campaign of somebody like blocking off a parking lot or a parking spot in a parking lot, a busy metropolitan area. So you got city, you got traffic around, and then you got this little square of a garden that you got to work on.
Right.
That's kind of cool.
One of the main things that we're going to focus on for this is really the educational aspect of it. So we got all the game mechanics and UI kind of functional. We're going to try to, pretty it up a little bit more before the end, but one of the last things that we need to really get working is like a tutorial.
Yeah, this how to play
really
section here.
It's just literally empty. That just explains the whole concept of the Milwaukee method for microforest planting, and not just how the game works mechanically, but how it translates to planting microforests in real life.
Right. Man. Wonderful work, guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Absolutely, absolutely.
Thanks.
Again, I'm learning so much. I'm learning so
honestly.
much, and it seems like, this is a climate jam, but it seems like there's so many concepts that all you guys are touching on that is like grown up, responsible choices and like decisions and stuff like that. It's like, where are the policies that reflect a lot of this thing that you guys are, a lot of these ideas that you guys are putting into these games? And I love seeing it, love talking about it.
Agreed.
Same.
Awesome. Well, it was great meeting you guys. I definitely can't wait to see the game when you finish it at the end of the jam.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Great work.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys.
Pleasure.
Good luck.
Thanks.
All right.
Wow. My brain is just like
it's blown away.
So many different directions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we got one more, but every single one of them has been. This is probably the coolest game jam I've been a part of.
Yeah, definitely blown away. Definitely excited obviously I'm a member of the planet, so I want all these concepts to. I want people to know about them.
Captain Plant. Oh, sorry.
Frog time.
There we
Okay.
go.
All right.
Oh, they left.
Did we get them in?
Well, they left somehow. Let me bring them back. Oh, there we go. Oh,
there we go.
Why did we bring? There we go. Now we got it. I didn't mean to bring him in here.
Hello there.
Hey.
Are you there?
Hey there. How are you doing? You mind introducing yourself, letting us know a little bit about your game? Oh.
Okay, I think they're trying to get the sound to work.
Okay.
We'll give you a moment. It's all good. It happens. Oh, hold on. There's a message here. No, we can't hear you at the moment. Let me check something here. Uh-oh.
Did that work?
I don't know.
Oh. No, I saw the mute go off, but. So Dargan, did you mention that you did a game before in the game jam?
So I've only I guess in the early days of our Earth games, we made some games within game jams. Yeah, I always actually did one of these things. This is pretty nerdy. I don't know if I really want to share this. No, just kidding. When I was in college, I did kind of like a game jam type thing, but to solve a math problem.
Oh, that's cool.
There's this thing called the math contest in modeling. That I know, like I come across as supermodel material on the stream, of course, but this is like modeling with equations, right? That type of modeling.
Yeah.
And we spent 48 hours working on a single math problem, and I loved it. I love that setting, where you work really hard for a little while and then you're done with something, and you can kind of celebrate it afterwards. And making games, in that setting is so much cooler. I really like how it takes so many different kinds of talents to make a game, like writing and music and art and programming and, design and like user testing and
right.
And I feel like it you always are able to make something that nobody individually could have come up with, it's like the team is better than the parts, right?
Yeah, that collaborative spirit is always shows itself like that. So
most of these, even I was impressed with the one that was solo doing it.
Yeah.
Like you don't see. I mean, I have seen it, but it was just what he was able to come up with so far was pretty impressive. And then the teddy bear ones, or teddy bear, I'm sorry, polar bear, was one of my favorites. And then the girls
a lot of
with
cute
the stars,
concepts.
the one with the stars.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. There we go.
I'm so sorry.
Hello.
There we go.
Sorry. Did I interrupt?
Hello.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry. Did I interrupt?
Hello.
Okay. Let's see.
What's going on? Yeah, we still hear some feedback, but we can hear you. What's going on? Yeah, we still hear some feedback, but we can hear you. I know enough. There was some feedback, but hear you.
Oh wait. Oh, I have my Twitch out. Sorry. My bad.
Oh, you're okay.
I had I had the Twitch open in the tab, so it was just.
I torture myself by listening to myself all the time, so
yeah,
that loop is
So,
okay. Sounds like you got you good.
So currently, our game is Frogology, right? And the main premise of the game is that you're a conservationist. There is a exact location given. Sorry, it's in like let's say like a national park, right? And your job is to preserve the frog species there by keeping out invasive species, counting like doing population surveys and doing like general research on frauds. And I guess the most of the gameplay is supposed to be observing the behaviors of the frauds themselves. Currently, we don't have a lot of like actually like all together gameplay, but we have a collection of a bunch of loose parts to be like pulled together. This is wait, sorry. I think this is supposed to be. Yeah. Why it's not supposed to be in 2D right now? This is both like work in progress main level right now. It has some stuff to be done with it and not quite finished yet. I guess this is where a lot of the gameplay work has come in. And so the idea is let's see. There would be animals like this that like the idea is that you are playing in the open map, right? And you would try to track down animals like these. Like they're tools like the one I just used that stuns it for like a set of time, and you can kind of observe the behaviors of them and like log it in. There's like a separate UI thing I don't really know how to access right now, but it does exist where it kind of logs the information of these like all animals have like things they're afraid of, things. It's kind of set up in a way that all animals have something they're afraid of, something that they like. Like for example, since I'm leaving this frog alone, it's gravitating to what's supposed to be like a bush right now. But as soon as I come into view, it just starts going away. And the idea is like there would be a bunch of different animals, and you would be able to track them down through like footprints or stuff like that does pop up. Any questions? I'm sorry.
So are you trying to like record and document a lot of the animals, or
Yes,
are you
that
trying to gather them in one place?
Partially it would be like recording the animals, and partially it would be like capturing them. It's supposed to like emulate like research efforts of like, for example, like certain fraud species have like issues of fungus, and like similar. They have like issues of fungus, and researchers are like collecting as much samples as possible to like find the common strain and why that's happening. And I kind of wanted, and like our team kind of wanted to emulate the entire process of like actual like wildlife research and conservationism.
Gotcha.
I don't know if they do this with frogs because they're so squishy, but with other animals, I know that they tag them so that you have a way to track where they go and what they do. I don't know if you're thinking about introducing like you mentioned stunning them, which it feels aggressive, but I know that they do need to do that in order to tag them so they can monitor the population. I don't know if that's part of your intent for like the gameplay of it.
Yeah, that's like a tool that is to be honest, like currently the missions we've come up with include either counting the amount of frogs, like capturing invasive species, and doing general research. So like right now we haven't quite found exactly which tools we want to work with yet. We know there's like a stun thing, then like that's what there is. But like I guess like tomorrow we're gonna meet and like try to get a general understanding of like how the entire story is gonna go.
Since you mentioned having like removing invasive species, maybe you could have like 2 or 3 different biomes, and so you're like releasing the species into the correct biome that they're supposed to live in.
Yeah.
And like to show that like, oh, when they're in this area, like they they eat too many of the smaller animals or something like that, and so you have to move them to this other area where they have natural predators that keeps them in check or something like that.
That was the idea we had. Currently we're like, we haven't solidified all of them yet, but like what's supposed to happen is we have like a list of tasks, and like we're at the point when we are starting to actually put stuff together in terms of like actually making gameplay for it. I made sure to consider that though.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere, right? So it
Yeah,
looks like you guys definitely have a really, you have the environment, you have different triggers in there. I love the frog. I mean, it's just the one animal, but like I could do that all day. I could just go around and chase the frog all day. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I think when it comes to maybe in your meeting, you guys can decide as a team like what are the metrics that you want the player to record. How does that affect gameplay? Like, do you want there to be a push and pull? Do you want there to be a pooling of a system or any kind of a tractor or anything like that? Just like basic kind of systems, and then kind of duplicate life, if you will, and then like find what wildlife watchers actually do, and then just kind of place them in your systems to make the game come to fruition. I think that'll help answer your question when it comes to like different tools that you're going to be using and whatnot. Whether you have a journal that you got to write every day on, or you have a certain number of frogs to keep track of, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I consider it.
I don't know if all that made sense. I was just kind of.
So like you have to get the like base system of how like the gameplay loops. Right. Yeah, I think I understand. Sorry.
So yeah, I mean, go ahead, MJ.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say one thing I would suggest when you're making your decisions about which specific mechanics or actions to have the player able to do is just to keep in mind what you want to be when the person is playing it. What do you want to change about them? Do you want to change their opinion? Do you want to have them do a different action than what they're currently doing? Do you want them to get involved in something? And make sure that you bring whatever mechanics you select, bring it back to whatever is your desired change for the player, because that can help you really sort of like limit it and make sure that it's really focused.
That's I think
the main even if you have like an open world kind of mechanics, I think the having the goal of what you want the player to walk away with is the important thing to keep in mind. So yeah.
Know your audience.
You could maybe check with like different conservation organizations, if they have any like frog campaigns, like what they're trying to convey, what are they asking of people right now? Is it not to use a particular product, or is it more about education or what?
I guess like the main goal of the game is to give the player like an idea of what conservationists like do in their like day-to-day lives, and it's like partially supposed to be empowering in the sense that like it showed that like as the game goes on, you're supposed like you would like set the fraud spot. Not it wouldn't just be frauds, it would also be like other native species, of course, but like we'd set it higher and we'd be able to show the actual effects of like removing invasive species doing research, and be able to show how it actually impacts the environment in a positive way. And like you would be able to see like, oh wow, there's more frauds now, there's more animals now. We could also like edit the terrain in other number of ways to do something like that.
To have to where a player can use maybe 2 or 3 certain mechanics, but then have the environment actually change based on what the player decides, and that way you can kind of get your feedback on how well you're doing about the game. So yeah, there's definitely a direction that you can go in.
Parker had something good to say.
Yeah, Parker.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Parker mentioned since we're talking about frogs, a more built-out version of this game could get into how changes in their environment affects things like male-female ratios, over/under populations, and you already mentioned invasive species. So.
Wait, male, female? Yeah. Sorry, could you repeat that part?
Yeah, it's in the Twitch chat. He said since we're talking about frogs, a more built-out version of this game could get into how changes in their environment affects things like male-female ratios, and over/under populations.
Oh yeah. Just
what other animals are you guys thinking about putting in?
So currently we're thinking of there's like a document I have. Let me pull it up. Give me a second. I didn't do most of the research. So certain ideas is like specifically the setting of this is specifically supposed to be in give me a second. Sorry. Like I remember it somewhere here, but
You're good. It's all good. Probably will let you know.
Yes, we're Nevada, like
What did you say?
Nevada in range. So we're like I can't really pronounce it that well, but
Sierra Nevada mountains, did you say?
yeah, yes.
Oh,
cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like some ideas was like red fox, just like general house cat, just because they like actually have like a negative impact on the environment, and the frauds like we are considering right now are, let's see, I think it's like yellowback or something. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, salmon.
Cane toad. Oh no, actually not cane toad. Mountain yellow lead frog, maybe. Is that the right? I'm just like looking at the general documents, and we'd have like a bunch of animals like that roaming. In terms of programming, I don't think most of the effort now is probably going into modeling, since the general behavior is the same. As like they have the behaviors that like it moves towards like moves towards objects with the tags that it likes, and then moves away from the tags that it dislikes. And it's a basic overview of it, but every animal follows the same principle. And like it all kind of works through a system where like, so it's supposed to be a big open world, right? But like the issue potential issues that like you didn't want to render it the entire time. So if it kind of operates on do you see like that ball here? The ball just like kind of floating around.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be you're not actually supposed to be able to see it, but somewhat a representation of the animal itself as it moves around the ecosystem. Around the ecosystem. So like if you move within range, it would spawn in the nearby bush or something like that. And then once you stop looking at it, it would then return to it. Whatever.
Cool. Yeah, some nice little optimization techniques. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what you guys decide on. I think the idea of, what a conservationist, what their day to day is like. I don't think that's kind of out there and known that much. So I would love to kind of wear that hat for a day, check it out, try to save some animals.
Yeah, I think the only frog game I know is Frogger. So having one that's not like constantly getting crushed by cars and trucks and stuff.
Yeah,
is cool in itself.
Sweet. Cool. Well, I guess we appreciate you showing us what you got so far.
Definitely. Is this being made in Unity? Oh
yeah,
yes. It's Unity. Yep.
Yeah, good old Unity. But yeah, well, and I'm not sure how big your team is, but definitely good luck to you guys as well. So I'm looking forward to what you guys come up with.
Exactly.
Yeah, super cool. I also want to catch frogs all day.
There you go.
Okay. Back to you then. I guess so. Leave the. Is there anything like other questions that I have?
Not that I've seen, but you did good. The presentation was good.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
And looking forward to checking it out, seeing what you come up with.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great night.